This is WICR.
Welcome back, people, for our third and final segment of today's show for The Rock is On. And we're still going to talk about football, not Peyton Manning, because I think I addressed the topic of Peyton Manning retiring from the NFL good enough. But we're going to talk about the defending champions, or his team that won the Super Bowl, the Denver Broncos. Now, I want to know, with Peyton Manning retiring from the Denver Broncos and all the gaudy numbers and records he put up, where do the Broncos go from here in terms of quarterback? Now, a lot of people say, "Oh, they're just going to sign Brock Osweiler. Brock Osweiler, he's going to take over the starting job for the Broncos." But the question is, do the Broncos really want to resign him? Because they don't seem very fully engaged to sign him. And there was a report today that the Houston Texans, who were in desperate need of a quarterback after seeing the Brian Hoyer show in the wild card game against the Kansas City Chiefs, where he threw 4 interceptions and was just abysmal. They're making a strong pursuit for him. And I think if I'm the Broncos, I go right after him. I go right after Brock Osweiler and try to make him the quarterback going into next year. That was the plan they had in mind. They drafted Osweiler back in 2013 out of North Dakota State. They made him sit behind Peyton Manning, make him learn the playbook, make him learn from a legend. But now it's his time. If he's a Bronco going into next year, this is his team to lead going forward. And watching him play and take over for Peyton Manning this past year, he didn't play that bad. In all honesty, he looked pretty good at the QB position. Some mental errors here and there, but other than that, he could play quarterback in this league. And like I said, if I'm the Broncos, I got to make a strong pursuit for him, because if you don't get Brock Osweiler back, who's going to be your quarterback going into next year? They're not going to draft a quarterback with their first pick because they have other areas in need. Plus with their free agents, out of their 11 defensive starters, 3 marquee guys on the defensive side of the ball are going to be free agents. This list includes Malik Jackson, Danny Trevathan, and linebacker Brandon Marshall. And also Von Miller was a free agent as well, but they put the franchise tag on him. And you can't. And that was obviously that was the right thing to do, because he won the Super Bowl MVP, and he's just an impact player, and he can just disrupt opposing teams' offenses. So that was the right move, though. Now their next priority is to sign Brock Osweiler. That should be their main priority. They were kind of up in the air with Peyton Manning. Oh, is he going to retire? Is he going to come back? Does he want to play? But now, with the news breaking out that he's retiring today, that now it's obvious. It's an obvious choice that they should sign Brock Osweiler. And also, not to mention, both their running backs are free agents, Ronnie Hillman and C.J. Anderson. Now, where do they go from running back? Do they keep one or the other? Do they try to retain both? Do they keep one or the other, or do they both let them walk? Both those running backs, they weren't great, but you know what? They were proficient enough to get the job done, and obviously with their work, with their contribution to the team, they contributed to the Broncos' 3rd Super Bowl championship in franchise history. But also, if you're the Broncos, though, if you think about it, all these pending free agents on your team, or all these players that are expected to be free agents on your team, you can go into the possibility into next year without having a quarterback or a running back. You're still going to have or a tight end, because Vernon Davis is going to be a free agent, and I don't think they're going to re-sign him back, because he was a non-factor during his short Bronco tenure. And Owen Daniels is old, so I don't think they're going to retain him or bring him back. So there you go. So wow, that's crazy. The defending Super Bowl champions could possibly face some adversity going into training camp next summer, with the possibility of not having a quarterback, running back, or a tight end. You're still going to have Demarius Thomas and Emmanuel Sanders, two good wide receivers that can play and can make plays down the field and are just so explosive. But if you don't have a quarterback to give them the ball, their talent is no use. And with the if they don't sign Osweiler, referring back to Brock Osweiler, who are they going to get? Ryan Fitzpatrick, who I think if he leaves the Jets, he won't have the same season or same success that he did this past year. But I think he'll be back. With my personal perspective is that he'll be back with the Jets. You're gonna have RG3, who at first had a sensational rookie season, but then just steadily declined after his ACL injury. And it was just kind of like a prima donna for the Redskins, though. Are you gonna take a flyer on him for what he brings? And then you're going to have guys who, like Chase Daniel, you're going to have an unproven guy like Chase Daniel, I think he'll get a fair chance wherever he goes, depending on if the team is in a quarterback duel or, is in desperate need of a quarterback and there's going to be an open competition for the job. So I think there's a likelihood on him. Then there's also, another guy who I find intriguing is Colin Kaepernick. Is he going to leave? Are the 49ers going to trade or release him? Where is he going to wind up? So that's another That's a guy I could see taking a chance. If the Broncos don't retain Osweiler and he happens to be available, I think that would be a good fit for him because I think he has something to prove. He's obviously shown that he can play despite his regression the last few years. But he doesn't bring. The difference between Colin Kaepernick and RG3 is that Kaepernick doesn't have that hoopla or prima donna-esque luggage. How can I say it? Doesn't bring that kind of luggage or character that RG3 does. Or I guess you could say garbage because nobody wants to be a prima donna. You get viewed as a prima donna, people have a negative mindset about you. But those are the adversity the defending Super Bowl champions face going into next week. And with that concludes our segment of The Rock is On. Tune into next week to get your latest sport details and news. Follow me on Instagram at TheRock1995 and on Twitter, TheRock954. Have a great day, everyone.